So Joe Biden says he likes war criminal former Vice President Dick Cheney. Emma Vigeland of Rebel Headquarters resurfaced this clip. I think it's originally from 2015. Take a look.
First of all, I actually like Dick Cheney for real. I get on with him. I think he's a decent man. I went to see him after we were elected, and I went to see him at the residence, and he and his wife were extremely gracious to Jill and to me. It probably sounds like I'm making this up when I say I learned from, but I spoke to this man repeatedly about this job. But he was extremely helpful and gracious about the office and the legal parameters of the office.
The legal parameters of the office. He might be, in U.S. history, he might be the single worst vice president in terms of violating the law. Why do I say that? He's the one who pushed for torture. And then he's the one who argued that it was perfectly legal by going to the Justice Department, getting some low-level staffer to write him a memo that says, oh yeah, this is cool. And then he took the memo and he went out there to the world and he was like, Justice Department says torture is totally legal because, look, it's enhanced interrogation. It's not even torture, y'all. Isn't that crazy? It's like, we're not even really torturing, even though we literally took our methods from communist Chinese manifestos on how to torture. But Justice Department says it's perfectly legal, bro. It's enhanced interrogation, bro. That's all that is, bro. He said Dick Cheney helped him with the legal parameters of the office. Well, that explains a lot. With all your extrajudicial, drone strike killings and whatnot. You're taking 2 wars and making it 7 interventions total because you started drone striking in a variety of more places. I mean, Dick Cheney, this is a guy who pushed for the torture, argued the torture was legal, to this day defends the torture, even though we have the Senate torture report and we learned there was anal feeding torture, which is just anal rape. They shoved a tube up their asses and pumped liquid food up there. What? They did mock burials. They did waterboarding, of course. They did sleep deprivation. They had a litany of just horrendous torture methods, and Dick Cheney to this day still defends it. I said it's perfectly legal. And also, by the way, just so you know, because I think this is important and people really, there's a whoa moment when they learn this. It's not even like all the people who were tortured were like some sort of Al-Qaeda operatives or something. No. In fact, the overwhelming majority of them were totally innocent. Totally innocent. And what happened was the Bush-Cheney government reached out to warlords in Pakistan and Afghanistan and told them, you got to send us like 9 Al-Qaeda people. And those guys just rounded up their political enemies and shipped them to the U.S. And then we sent them to Guantanamo. Some were in Abu Ghraib. And we tortured them. So people totally innocent, didn't do anything wrong. One of them was literally a German citizen. And when Germany found out that we tortured them, they were like, what the fuck are you doing? What are you doing? And we had to release them. See, this is why you have due process, by the way. Number one, torture is illegal, and it should be. But also, this is why you have due process. Because the government doesn't always just get it right. You're going to take away somebody's life and liberty and just act like, well, what do you mean? We could do this because we were attacked. Yeah, but how do you know that this person was involved? How do you know that they did it? How do you know any of that stuff? This is why you have courtrooms and you have due process to ascertain the truth. Did we get it right? Did we not get it right? Can we keep them locked up? Do we have to let them go? But they just skipped all that. Totally ignored the Constitution, totally ignored international law, totally ignored U.S. law. I mean, this is crazy. Just ignoring the fucking Magna Carta is what they're ignoring here. So that's what Cheney did. Of course, he pushed for the Iraq War, which was an illegal offensive war that killed minimum 200,000 civilians, wasted $7 trillion also. And this is the guy who he likes. Now, his reasoning is very interesting. What's his reasoning? Well, he was nice to me. He was nice to me and Jill. Very gracious with his time and helped me out a little bit. Joe Biden is the exact kind of person who I don't want as president. Why? Because he thinks like what? These personal relationships override the bulk of somebody's career? I mean, Dick Cheney is a career criminal. Make no mistake about it. That's what he is. He's a career criminal. He's a war criminal. He should be in The Hague right now. But because he was nice to you and your wife, Joe, he's not a bad guy. You know what that shows, right? Joe Biden just doesn't give a shit. He's totally and fully dehumanized all the innocent victims in Iraq. He's totally and completely dehumanized all the innocent victims who were tortured at Guantanamo Bay and elsewhere. So they don't count to him. To him, it's like, well, those are the baddies. I've lumped them off in my mind, and they're the other. They're the baddies, so I have no sympathy for them. Why would I care? I know Dick Cheney. He's nice to me. He wears a suit and tie. He seems like a gentleman in front of me. I'm sure fucking Goebbels was a gentleman too. I'm sure Himmler was a gentleman too. It doesn't mean anything. That doesn't mean anything. You're in the club, Joe. You're in the fucking club. Yeah, the club treats other people in the club kindly. No shit. No fucking shit. You know who they don't treat kindly? Everybody else. All the fucking Americans who are in poverty and in debt up to their eyeballs because of college or because of a medical bill, or they don't give a fuck about them. They're not fighting for them, even though that's their fucking job. They don't care about all the dead, innocent women and children in Iraq and Afghanistan. They don't care about that. And you fell for the head fake. He smiles when he talks to us. He offered me a very cold beverage. It was good. He was so gracious to me. And he told me a lot of the legal parameters of the office. You know what I'm saying? Nobody violated the law more than Dick Cheney in office. Nobody did. But the difference is, their effective argument is, when we do it, it doesn't count. It doesn't break the law. Why? What do you mean? We're the leaders of the world. We're in the office of the presidency of the United States of America. Law doesn't apply to us. And that's what he passed on to Joe Biden. That's what he passed on. Like, yeah, doesn't really matter. You can do whatever you want, basically. Kill people, torture people. Doesn't matter. It's all good. He's a very kind and gracious man. I love him very much. His approval rating of fucking like 22% was really inspiring to me.